There is an incredible moment in every person's life when you've already built something like a business, a career, habits, a rhythm, and suddenly realize it's not enough. It's like standing on a mountaintop, but inside there's silence. Not peaceful, but empty. And then you begin to understand a good life isn't just about what you do, but also about who you become in the process. In the first part, we talked about 3 external foundations in productivity, friendship, and culture. They provide structure. But today, we're going deeper to what gives meaning, to the fire that burns inside when everything around you goes dark, to the moments that money can't buy, but that make you truly alive. We'll talk about spirituality as a force that shapes your character, about the art of not missing out on life as the highest form of gratitude, and about family as the heart of your influence, your true home in a world that's constantly changing. And as always, at the end, there will be a simple practice to help you not just understand these things, but truly feel them. So stay close. Subscribe if you haven't yet, because now we're about to touch the part of life that can't be seen, but ultimately shapes everything that can. There is something special about the moment when a person stops running. When they no longer need to prove anything, compete, or count their steps. They simply sit, look at the horizon, and for the first time in a long while, breathe deeply. In that breath, spirituality is born. Not religion, not ritual, but a state in which you feel that everything that truly matters is already here. Not tomorrow, not after victory, not when everything falls into place, but now. I remember once, after a big talk, I returned to my hotel room. 1,000 people had been on their feet, applauding, yet I felt emptiness, not exhaustion, emptiness. I sat by the window, looking at the night city, and one question echoed in my mind. Jim, why are you doing all this? Not for fame, not for money. I had already tested those. And then I understood. I don't just want to teach people, I want to touch their souls. And to touch the souls of others, you must first be in touch with your own. That's what spirituality is. It's a connection you can't measure by time, but you feel it in every cell of your being. The world teaches us to count numbers, plan projects, chase results. But no one teaches us how to look within. We have so many instructions on how to earn a life, and almost none on how to feel it. And yet, sooner or later, everyone reaches that point. Maybe through loss, maybe through success, maybe simply through silence in the heart. In that moment, a new person is born, a person who not only wants to live better, but wants to live deeper. Spirituality is your inner vertical. It's the core that keeps you from falling when everything external shakes. When I look back on my path, I see that all my most important decisions were made not from the head, but from the depth, from that place where the mind quiets and truth becomes simple. Sometimes I call it conscience, sometimes inspiration, sometimes the voice of the heart. Whatever you call it, what matters is that this voice stays alive. Because when it goes silent, we become nothing more than a mechanism that functions but doesn't live. I like to think of spirituality as a garden. If you don't water it, it doesn't die immediately, but it slowly fades. The flowers still stand but without fragrance. The leaves are still green but without shine. And just like that, a person may appear successful, yet inside there's a silence without meaning. Only when we return to our source, through gratitude, through prayer, through honest conversation with ourselves, do the colors in that garden begin to bloom again. I've learned something simple. Spirituality isn't about how many books on faith you've read, but how often you look up at the sky. Not how many times you've been to a temple, but how many times your actions have become a temple for others. And the highest form of spirituality is care. When you see someone who needs warmth and you don't walk past. When you don't just understand truth, but embody it. Because faith without action is just theory. And action without faith is just chaos. And if the first part of our journey taught us how to act rightly, this one will teach us how to be rightly. It's not about speed, but about depth. Not about quantity, but about the quality of presence. Because a good life isn't only when you do great things, it's when you do small things with a great soul. And today, we'll begin with exactly that, with spirituality, that invisible force that shapes everything visible. Because as my mentor once said, what grows from within can withstand any storm. Spirituality. I love that word because it sounds quiet, yet it carries a power that logic cannot explain. It's not something you can see with your eyes, but it's visible in everything you do, in how you speak, how you look, how you give thanks. Spirituality is the inner energy that gives meaning to every action, every yes, and every no. And if productivity is your strength to do, then spirituality is your ability to know why you do it. I often said in my seminars, we are not merely people having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. That difference changes everything. Because when you start to see yourself not just through your body and achievements, but through your soul and your impact, you stop living small. You stop measuring life by the number of days and start measuring it by the depth of moments. I didn't understand this right away. Once I chased results, more clients, bigger hauls, longer hours. But the more there was, the less of me remained. And then I asked myself, what will I leave people when my voice goes silent? The answer came simply, the peace they feel when they hear your words. That's a spiritual legacy, when what remains after you isn't just an idea, but a silence in which others can hear themselves. Spirituality isn't about escaping the world. It's about the ability to be in the world without getting lost in it. We all face storms, markets, responsibilities, the noise of the news, doubts, losses, and if you don't have an inner anchor, the winds will carry you away. I've seen strong people broken by small things because their strength was external. And I've seen others unmoved even by tragedy because inside them burned a fire that needed no permission from the outside world. The fire of calm, the fire of faith. My own spirituality began simply by observing. Every morning I would go out onto the porch and just watch the sunrise. No thoughts. No phone, no plans. Just watching, and in that simplicity, gratitude was born for the air, for the chance, for another day to try. Then I would take a notebook and write one sentence. Today, I am grateful for. And even if nothing major happened, I found something small, a warm conversation, a good cup of coffee, a kind morning. Over time, I noticed, the more I gave thanks, the more life gave me reasons to be thankful. Gratitude is the magnet of spirituality. Sometimes people think spirituality means seriousness, but it doesn't. True spirit carries lightness. It's the smile that appears for no reason, the kindness that doesn't ask for applause, the ability to look at difficulties and not lose your light. I remember once missing a flight. Instead of getting angry, I just sat down, smiled, and said to myself, maybe it's meant to be. An hour later, I learned that the flight was delayed due to technical issues. And I thought, how many times has life saved us in the disguise of delays? A spiritual person sees not punishment in trials, but lessons. Another side of spirituality is compassion. We live in a world that often says, think of yourself. But the truth is, the deepest peace doesn't come when you get everything. It comes when you start giving. A businessman I knew used to donate part of his profits every month to charity. I once asked him, why do you do that? You already have enough on your plate. He said, because every time I help someone, I feel again that my life isn't in vain. That's the essence. Charity isn't about money. It's about the energy of return. When you give, you don't lose. You purify. But spirituality doesn't mean passivity. Faith without action is just music without sound. The true spiritual path is when your faith moves your deeds. When honesty isn't just for the stage, but lives in your daily choices. When instead of anger, you choose understanding. When instead of pride, gratitude. It's the lifelong training of the heart. And the best thing you can do is check each day from which place you act, fear or love. Because the two roots of all actions are fear and love. One constricts, the other expands, one drains, the other nourishes. I believe spirituality is the highest form of discipline because it demands that you be honest with yourself even when no one is watching. It's inner work without applause, without ratings, without rewards. But its fruits are visible from afar. Calmness, clarity, kindness, confidence without noise. And one more thing. A spiritual person isn't always loud, but is always noticeable. Their presence is felt, like silence after a storm. If you ask me, where do I start? I'll tell you simply, with 1 minute of silence each day, don't look for complicated practices. Sit, breathe, give thanks, think about those you love, and allow yourself to be. Because spirituality isn't about seeking God somewhere far away. It's about finding Him in the ordinary, in breath, in people, in life itself. And here's the paradox. The deeper you go into spirituality, the closer you come to action. Because inner peace gives birth to clarity. And clarity is the best fuel for genuine decisions. Spirituality doesn't take you away from the world. It teaches you how to live fully in it. And then even your business meetings, even your morning routines become part of a prayer. Because when you act with soul, any work becomes service. And if you're hearing this now, know this, that fire is already within you. You don't need to search for it, and you just need to fan it. And when it burns, everything else becomes simpler, even life itself. Because spirituality is when you no longer ask life why, but instead thank it for giving you the chance to ask. But this isn't the end, because after spirituality comes its closest sister, joy. What Jim Rohn called the art of missing nothing, and that's exactly what we'll talk about next. About a life that doesn't pass you by while you're busy living it. Don't miss this moment. Don't miss anything. This might be the most poetic of all the principles of a good life, and the simplest, yet at the same time, the hardest, because, my friend, we all know how to work. We know how to plan, to fight, to move forward, but not all of us know how to live. Sometimes life passes right by in the next room while we're busy chasing success. We wait for great happiness and miss the small joys that make it up. And then one day we look back and think, I was everywhere, except in my own life. My parents taught me something simple. Don't miss it. Don't miss the game if your son is playing. Don't miss the play if your daughter is performing. Don't miss the dance, even if you're tired. Don't miss the sunset, even if you still have 100 emails waiting. Because life doesn't replay its shows on demand. It's always live. And if you miss a scene, there's no second take. I remember my father. He was over 90, but if you called him at 10 in the evening, he wouldn't be home. He'd be at a rodeo, or watching kids play softball, or listening to a local concert, or attending church. He was in life. His days didn't just pass, they happened. And I often think that's real youth. Not in age, but in curiosity. People don't grow old because of years, but because of indifference. Once I came home after a 3-day seminar. I was exhausted, but my wife said, Jim, the kids have a performance at school tonight. Are you coming? My first thought was to rest, but then I remembered my father's lesson. Don't miss it. I went. And do you know what I remember? Not just from that day, but for life. Not the speech, not the applause, but my children's eyes searching for me in the crowd and finding me. In that moment, I realized success that takes you away from those you love isn't success. Life gives us countless small chances to be happy, but most people are too serious to notice them. We've learned how to photograph moments, but forgotten how to live them. We document life, but don't experience it. Do you know what a good life is? It's when you feel the rain, not just watch it through the window. When you hear the music, not just analyze the lyrics. When you dance, not for an audience, but for your soul. And here's another secret. Not missing anything doesn't mean doing everything. It means being present in whatever you're doing. When you work, work fully. When you rest, rest completely. When you talk with your child, be there, not in your phone. When you dine with a friend, listen, don't prepare your answer. True enjoyment of life is full presence. And that, my friend, is also a spiritual practice. People often tell me, Jim, you live as if every day is special. And I smile and reply, can you prove that it's not? We don't know how many pages are left in the book of our life. And that's exactly why each one is priceless. If you live a day consciously, even an ordinary Monday becomes a celebration. Because it's not about the date, it's about the depth with which you lived it. To miss nothing means collecting life as a gallery of moments, not things. Go to that concert you've been meaning to attend, call an old friend for no reason, buy the ticket not because you should, but because you want to feel. Step outside just to watch the sunset. Take a photo, not for the internet, but for your heart. Because if you live well, it shows on your face, it's heard in your voice, it's felt in your energy. A person who doesn't miss life radiates light. You know what else is part of the secret? The ability to pause, the ability to stop. We're used to rushing, but the deepest moments come when you stand still. When you stop in the middle of the road and simply say, God, it's beautiful. Those 2 seconds change you more than any success ever could, because that's when you're truly there. And one more thing, don't miss people. We often label them busy, boring, not the right time, but sometimes a random conversation can change everything. A friend once told me his life changed after a brief meeting in an airport. Someone simply said to him, "Live while you still have someone to thank." That phrase became his compass. We never know through whom life whispers its truths, so don't miss a single chance to listen. Not missing anything also takes courage, because to be present, you have to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to feel. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's joy that brings tears, but it's real. And what's real is always worth the pain. Because in the end, only by feeling fully do we understand what we truly want. And here's the paradox. When you stop fearing that you'll miss something big, you finally see the beauty in the small. And then life stops being a waiting room. It becomes a journey, not a sprint, but a dance, not a duty, but a blessing. So my friend, if you want to live well, be where you are now, not tomorrow, not when things get easier, because a good life isn't the one that lasts long, but the one you didn't miss. And now we come to the last of the 6 things. The circle at the center that holds everything together. To family, to loved ones, to those whose love makes us strong. Because even the deepest spirituality and the brightest life lose their taste if there's no one to share the bread with. The next part is about the power of home, the kind that doesn't need walls. Family. This word has always stirred a special warmth in me. There is something so deep in it that needs no explanation. Family isn't just those you share a roof with. It's those you share your heart with. The people whose voices stay in your memory even when they're silent. Those with whom you can be real. No masks, no roles, no titles. It's your life team, your safe haven, your source of strength. And no matter how far you go, this is the place you always return to, in the literal or spiritual sense. I've always said, invest in your family and it will invest in you. Because love is the only deal where there are no losses. It grows with every gesture, every word, every simple thank you. My father taught me to cherish the small things. I used to call him often, even when I was on the other side of the world. I remember once calling from Israel. It was the middle of the night, and I stood by the window, looking out over the shining Mediterranean Sea. I said, "Dad, I'm in Israel." He replied loudly so everyone in the cafe could hear, "In Israel? Son, how's life in Israel?" And he laughed. For him, those few minutes were a celebration. And for me, a reminder that the best gift you can give your loved ones isn't money, but attention. Each of us has a circle, large and small. The large one is everyone you meet in the world. The small one is those who touch your heart. Care for both, but especially for the small one. Because when the storm comes, it's that circle that keeps you afloat. When a father leaves home with his daughter's kiss on his cheek, he's an influential man. When a husband feels his wife's embrace before stepping into the day, he's unstoppable. When a child knows they're being listened to, they grow confident. This isn't philosophy, it's energy. Visible on the face, heard in the voice, felt even by strangers. Family isn't only blood, it's the people you let into your heart and choose to keep there. It's friends who become brothers. Mentors who become like fathers, students who become your spiritual children. The world is bigger than our home, but true closeness is born in these small circles. I've seen wealthy people who had everything except warmth, and I've seen humble farmers whose homes glowed with love from within. And I told myself, better a small house full of laughter than a big house full of silence. Family isn't always easy. Where there's a lot of love, there are always challenges, because we see each other without filters. But that's why family is the best training ground for the heart. There you learn to forgive, to accept, to listen, to soften when you'd rather be right. Love isn't always quiet. Sometimes it looks like a conversation you don't want to start or an apology that's hard to say. But every time you take that step, your home grows stronger because the true currency of family isn't comfort, it's honesty. I remember once my wife and I were arguing, nothing serious, just life. And suddenly she stopped, looked me in the eye and said, you know what strength is? Not winning the argument, but staying a team after it. I've carried those words with me ever since, because they're what save you in moments of tension. Family isn't a place where you're always right. It's the place where you're loved even when you're wrong. And another thing, don't postpone moments together. Don't wait for the perfect time to gather, talk, travel, or simply be together. The perfect time is always today. I've seen people lose years to resentment, to silence, to not now. And then life took away their chance to fix it. And they stood there with the same words, only now too late. Don't do that to yourself. Every day is a chance to say what needs to be said, because love unspoken in time loses its power. Once I told my daughter, if you want to know whether you're living right, look into the eyes of those beside you. If there's peace there, you're on the right path. Dickie, because family is the mirror of your philosophy. You can be successful in business, but if your family fears you instead of respecting you, that's not victory. You can build companies, but if you're not building relationships, everything else will collapse. No triumph is worth the cold gaze of your child, and no mistake is too great to try to make right. When I think about my life, I see that all the best lessons didn't come from books. They came from home, from where we learn not from words, but from looks, where wisdom speaks through silence at the table, where love doesn't need proof, it's visible. And if one day I'm asked what is the highest expression of life, I'll say, it's one person caring for another. That's not a quote from philosophy. It's a truth tested by time and tears. So my friend, don't forget, your family isn't just another chapter of life. It is life. Care for them. Listen to them. Give them your time, even when you feel you have none. Because these are the people who are your true legacy. And when your final evening comes, you won't remember your plans or your accounts. You'll remember faces, laughter, touches, evenings you didn't miss. And then you'll understand you lived well, and now we've come full circle again, from the power of action to the power of love, from purpose to meaning. In the next part, I'll offer you a small interactive exercise, a few questions to help you see how harmonious your life truly is. Not to evaluate it, but to feel it. Because a good life isn't about perfection, it's about awareness, and we'll do it together. And now, my friend, take a deep breath, because this is your moment of silence, not for theories, but for honesty. This is an interactive exercise, a short journey inward. 5 questions that don't require a pen or notebook. Just listen, feel, and answer silently. The scale is from 1 to 10. 1 means I've barely touched this, and 10 means it's part of my daily life. Don't analyze, don't justify, answer with your heart. And if you feel that one of the answers hurts, that's not weakness. It's a sign that new strength is growing there. First question, about your inner fire. How steadily does your spirituality burn within you? Is there a moment in your day when you lift your eyes upward and give thanks? When silence becomes your prayer even without words? When you haven't spoken to your heart for a long time. 10, when you start every day with gratitude, because spirituality isn't a ritual, it's a breath that reminds you, I am alive. Second question, about your presence. How often are you truly here? When you speak, do you listen? When you look, do you see? From 1 to 10, how much do you live not by the calendar but by the heart? Imagine your life as a film. Are you the main character or just an observer? The person who doesn't miss life lives in the frame, not behind the camera. Third question, about your circle of love. How tangible is your presence to those you love? Do they know you're there, not just in body, but in spirit? From 1 to 10, how much does your family feel your warmth? Don't ask yourself how much time you've given them. Ask how much attention. Because 1 minute of genuine listening can be worth more than an entire weekend together. Fourth question, about joy. When was the last time you laughed so hard your cheeks hurt? When was the last time you danced for no reason, sang because you wanted to, not because you had to? From 1 to 10, how much space is there in your day for joy without permission? Joy isn't a reward after work, it's the fuel for it. A person without joy works out of duty. A person with joy works out of love. Fifth question, about legacy. Not in money or titles, in people, in actions, in the words that will remain after you. From 1 to 10, how much of what you do today will still matter tomorrow? Will you become a memory that warms or a story forgotten? We all leave a mark. The only question is, will it be a warm one? Now, look at your 5 numbers. Don't judge, just observe. This isn't a test, it's a mirror. And if some numbers are low, that's okay. It's not failure, it's an invitation to grow. Tomorrow, raise one of them by even 1 point. That's all it takes to change the course of a life. 1 point of honesty, 1 point of attention, 1 point of love. And the world around you begins to respond. You can write your answers in the comments, not to show off, but to act. Because when we speak truth out loud, it gains power. Write spirituality 7, presence 5, family 8, joy 6, legacy 4, and add, tomorrow I'll raise at least 1 number. This is your small contract with your future self. And one more thing, if you feel that this format touched you, subscribe. Because we're not just listening to quotes here, we're building a philosophy of life, one that's visible from the inside. Hit like, not for the algorithms, but to say to yourself, I was present, I heard. And if you wish, share one phrase in the comments that touched you the most. Because when we share wisdom, it doesn't shrink, it grows. Now just sit for a minute in silence. Don't rush. Let the words settle like rain after heat. Maybe you feel peace right now, maybe sadness. Both are right. It means you're alive. And being alive, that's already a tremendous blessing, because a good life isn't when everything is under control. It's when you allow yourself to feel. And if you feel, it means you're on the right path. And we're not putting a period here yet, because ahead lies the final chord, the conclusion that will unite all 6 elements into one complete meaning, a simple yet profound formula for a life truly worth living. So my friend, we've walked the entire path, from strength to tenderness, from productivity to love, from doing to being. And now as you hear these words, take a pause, because this isn't just the end of the second video, it's the beginning of a new level of life. Together we've unpacked 6 elements of a good life, and each one is like a note in a grand melody. Alone they sound beautiful, but only together do they create harmony. Think about it. Productivity gives us direction. Friends give us support. Culture gives us beauty. Spirituality gives us depth. Presence gives us joy. Family gives us love. These are the 6 threads that weave the fabric of a good life. And if even one of them breaks, you feel it immediately. Somewhere in your voice, your mood, your heart. But here's the good news. All these threads can be rewoven every day with new wisdom, new tenderness, and a renewed desire to be better. For many years, I taught people how to earn more, achieve faster, act bolder. But the older I got, the clearer I saw. The greatest victory isn't there. The true victory is when you look at your life and realize you like what you see. When you no longer run ahead but walk in peace. When your day is filled with meaning, not just tasks. When you wake up not because of an alarm clock, but because of gratitude. A good life isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the morning coffee you drink without rushing. It's the smile of someone close who sees the real you. It's a conversation with a friend where you don't need to prove anything. Just listen. It's the moment you stop and say, God, what a gift it is simply to be. These are simple things, but they create greatness, because depth is always born of simplicity. Remember I said the highest expression of life is to live a good life. Well, a good life isn't a gift. It's a choice, the choice to be present, the choice to love, the choice to forgive, the choice to rise again and again. And no one can make that choice for you. You can start today, not with grand changes, but with one decision. Don't miss a single important moment. Because if today you call someone you've been thinking about, you're already living a good life. If today you say thank you, you're already living a good life. If tonight you fall asleep feeling grateful, you're already living a good life. It's not about perfection, it's about sincerity. And one day, when life slows down, you'll look back and say, I didn't miss it. I was there. I loved. I believed. I acted. I lived. And then you'll understand that is the greatest reward. So guard your fire, your circle, your moments. Don't let the noise of the world drown out the music of your heart. Because the world changes, but truths remain. And one of them says this: happiness is not a destination, but a way of walking the road. I'm Jim Rohn. And if today even one of your thoughts became deeper, if even one heart became warmer, if even one person decided to live a little better, then our meeting was worth it. Subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Share this video with those you love. Let them also hear the reminder: living well is an art available to everyone. And may you tell yourself one simple sentence today: I'm not just living, I'm living a good life.